A former campaign spokesman for ex-Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Kassim Afegbua, has again said his former boss should not be entrusted with the People's Democratic Party's presidential ticket for the 2023 general elections. Afegbua made the call in response to the former vice president's claim that he always gets the PDP presidential ticket. Afegbua says, contrary to the claim, Atiku has only represented the party once in the 2019 presidential contest since the formation of the PDP. According to him, the party cannot afford to repeat the mistake of 2019 when Atiku abandoned all his foot soldiers and sought refuge in faraway Dubai after he lost the presidential election. Instead of seeking the party's presidential ticket, Afegbua advises Atiku to support younger Nigerians from the southern parts of the country to pursue the presidential aspiration of the opposition party. Okay, well, for more on this, I'm now being joined by Kassim Afegbua himself. Welcome, Kassim. You're spitting fire already. I mean, Atiku hasn't formally thrown his heart into the presidential fray. But what are your worries here? I mean, for a former vice president, a Nigerian that the Constitution guarantees, you know, the freedom of association or contest, the right to, you know, contest.
Well, let me quickly correct an impression in your introduction. I was a member or a spokesperson for the PDP Presidential Campaign Council, and not necessarily as spokesperson to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Segun Showumi was his spokesperson. I was for the party, and we were about 7 or 8 of us in the 2019 elections. So when you say he was my former boss, he was the candidate of the party. So to that extent, being spokesman to the party also means that I was also representing some of his views. But there are no worries per se, except that I've always loved, you know, some level of political balance in a country as diverse as Nigeria. We need to begin to readdress our mind to some level of some kind of gentleman agreement that exists amongst political parties, you know, in the country. Now, having the current president from the northern part of the country who will be spending 8 years, I expect that both the APC, both the PDP and other parties should take their candidates from the southern part of the country. You need to balance the algorithms. You need to balance the political equations and the calculations. You need to also let people, you know, have some level of sense of belonging, you know, in the union, so that it doesn't become a skewed federalist status, kind of. So for an Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, I have said repeatedly that in this 2023, because it's the turn of the South within the PDP, it's natural for him to support younger elements from the southern axis to become the candidate of the party, so that with his influence and support, we can pursue the campaign together and ensure that we're able to defeat the APC.
That would have nailed his ambition in its entirety you know, becoming Nigeria's president.
At present, he cannot be running against the run of play. He's running against the mood within the party. He's running against the normative order. In 2019, he was the candidate of the party. He cannot again assume that role in 2023. It means that PDP will not have learned his lessons. It means that PDP will not have also put into consideration all the factors and the variables that, you know, factorize the politics of 2019. And the most painful aspect is the fact that, like, if you read my statement, I said, I want a leader who will stand by the people until the entire struggle is prosecuted. In 2019, as soon as the elections were over, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar abandoned all of us who are foot soldiers and ran away to Dubai. That to me is a minus. And in my statement today, I made reference to the Ukrainian president Zelensky, who, rather than heeding the advice of Americans that it should be evacuated, said, no, I'm going to stay and stand with my people to fight. We even saw footages of where he carried AK-47 and dressed in military camouflage, fatigue, trying to show that he's ready to fight because he said, this is my country, he has to defend country. We shouldn't be bordering too much energy and time on leaders who are not ready for us. There are campaigns that are taking place today. Yesterday was by-elections in Imo, by-election in Cross River, by-elections in Plateau, by-election in Akure, all of this put together. We didn't see the aspirant who wants to contest for the party. It's all about himself, or just because he wants the ticket of the party. No. Now that it is time for election, we saw Atiku suddenly coming back home from Dubai. That shouldn't be the mentality of a man who really wants to lead or who wants to give us his shoulder for us to cry on. So for me, I see that as as a minus in his leadership orientation. I don't know those who advise him, but for God's sake, it will make a more meaningful outcome if in 2019 we were seeing Atiku Abubakar sit in the court to listen to his case, and the judges are saying that yes, this man is actually prepared to lead the country.
You think he's too detached from the members of the PDP? Then what would you say about the party itself that is still, foot dragging, haven't zoned its offices, national offices and the rest? Why the foot dragging about, stating in very categorical, unequivocal terms where the presidential candidate is going to come from?
Well, I won't speak for the party. The party has a spokesperson, but I can tell you that the party is not for dragging at all. It represents the hope for the hopeless. It represents the voice for the voiceless in this country today. Given the kind of monstrosity and the kind of maladministration of the APC-led federal government, PDP, for me, resonates hope and should be the only hope of the common man now. I think what is key is the fact that at the appropriate time, the party will sit down to take decisions at the various levels of the party, just like they did at when the chairmanship contest came on stream in October. So at the appropriate time, the party will sit back, look at the variables, and zone the party's positions. But in 2019, there was not such a formal meeting. It was like an understanding from our southern aspirants and southern brothers and sisters that no, let us allow the North to produce a candidate, and everybody stayed back. It was all a northern affair. This time in 2023, it's only natural, only just, only fair that the southerners should be allowed the same opportunity accorded the northern aspirants in 2019. I'm not asking for too much.
But some party members have started drifting away to go and form the third force and the rest, because of limiting their aspirations. I'm talking of former governor of Kano State, Kwakwanso.
Well, I wouldn't want to discuss Kwakwanso in this case because head or tail, there are perpetual aspirants, so if they are leaving the party and they are going somewhere else, no problem for them. But what is constant, which is a common denominator of all this discussion, is the fact that the southern part of the country deserves opportunity and deserves to have the ticket of the PDP. APC, in its magnanimity, so to speak, at least has said that the presidency is going to the south. That's reasoning. That's fair enough. That's balancing. And so for the PDP, we cannot afford to shy away from that. This is the time for the southern part of the country to produce a candidate. If they zone to the south, then the leaders of the south will also sit back and think of
know where it's going to come from amongst them. Well, thanks so very much, Kassim Afegbua, for coming to expatiate further on your earlier write-up. Kassim Afegbua is a member of the People's Democratic Party.